want to do. Now, let's see, I'm not sure how far I'll get on this today, but I want to take this and I want to do a little landscape. And then I'm going to put some oil pastels, not oil pastels, oil sticks. So if I look at the shape, this is the furthest away shape. And then there's this beautiful trees. This would be like a perfect Bob Ross, you know, how he does his little trees. And then there's another shape here. There's this shape of the water. There's a little shoreline. And then there's this piece right in the foreground. And then this thing here. So I think what I'll do is just sketch it out. So when you think about landscape, using landscape versus portrait. So this is landscape. And whenever you put a horizontal line, it brings this tranquility, this rest. It's landscape. Whenever I put a line across, it will be landscape. If I have it this way, it's more of the vertical line is more about the uprightness, the energy, and it's grounding it. It's being pulled down by gravity. So it's more about a figure. Even though you don't have to have a figure in it, it's a different feeling. If I have a square, it's just a very, it doesn't have the horizontal, it's more of a neutral. This is very neutral, okay, compared to this. Okay, so I had this landscape that I did in this portrait mode. So, you know, you can play around with those ideas and rules. So I could take this and I could make this into a landscape, which I think I'm going to do because I've done the vertical. So I'm going to start with my horizon line and I'm going to move it up here and just kind of sketch in this horizon line here. And then I'm just going to create these little shapes. And if I were sitting here and I was sitting right here, I was right here, and I would take a picture and then I would sketch from life just to kind of get this feeling of the landscape. Let's try to bring in this water. So I want to think compositionally too. So this water is like on this 1/3 of the, and it kind of comes forward. Okay, and then there's, so I'm simplifying the whole thing and I could decide to bring that water in over here. All right, now I need my gloves. So when you're playing with the oil sticks, I have no idea how this is going to come out. Sometimes I practice before I do a Facebook Live, but this is completely improvisational. I'm not practicing, so wish me luck. All right. So I have my oil sticks here, and you really need to wear rubber gloves with them. And they are different than oil pastels, okay? Oil pastels really don't dry. And I did a demo, a few months ago with oil pastels. So I really love the background here. So I'm gonna just kind of, this is my palette paper. And I'm going to, you can take your oil pastel. Why do I keep saying that today? It must be the change in weather. I don't know. It's not an oil pastel. It is an oil stick. There are different things. All right. This one has a fast drying oil in it and some wax. All right. It must be the change of seasons. Okay. So let's put this over here, and I think I might take a little bit of white. Now, mash this up a little bit to lighten it up. So you can mix your oil sticks with a palette knife. They're kind of thick. And let's see, I think I have a little bit of Payne's Gray. And you want to have some baby whites too. So I taught you last week, week before last, just to kind of wipe off it. It gets kind of like a film on top of it. Okay. This is a gray here, obviously, or black. All right, so I'm just gonna mix it up to get the color I want. Now it's really gray. But I want you to see that you can use the sticks in different ways. All right. All right, so now that is way too gray, but that's okay because I can also take a little bit of oil paint. You can mix it together. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of this light blue oil paint and mix it. It's not making much of a difference. All right, that's okay. All right, so now I'm just gonna put a little bit. We have a gray sky like my day. Okay, where did my thing go? Oh dear, oh dear. Where did it go? I see it, hold on. Oops. Okay, we'll be editing this out of the video at the end. Okay, I needed my shaper. All right, so I'm gonna take my color shaper and I'm just gonna push this in, all right? And then let's see, I'm gonna get some of my white oil stick. Push it over. So last week when I made the other one, I had toned my background with acrylic paint. And so this one I wanted to do it without the background. There, getting kind of a gray, pretty gray sky. Yep, a little bit more blue gray. But I want you to see that you can mix these things together and the color shaper is really great. All right, so let's put this over here. And I'm gonna use, I have a couple greens and let's clean that off. And I'm gonna just add a little bit of green up here and a little bit down here. Just kind of push it in. Go, it's got a lot of blue in that. All right. And I like that I can layer things in. So this green gold is a transparent green and it's really beautiful layered on top. So you can kind of create glazes with it. And this is the earth green. And I'm gonna bring this one in down here. You're probably wondering, well, can I use my paintbrush? Because I don't have oil sticks, but I don't have a color shaper. Yes, you can. So that's the other thing I wanted to talk about again because I had questions, was I use the Chelsea Classic Studio. I like to use the lavender spike oil and it's a quick drying. So I just put a little bit in a dish and it is, there's no turpentine in it and it smells good. And then I have walnut oil. You can use linseed oil, whatever you have on hand. But I've switched to these just because it smells good. And I think there's somebody posted one, I think it might be Galkide, that doesn't have an odor to it. So I'm going to take this little brush here and I'm going to dip it into the spike lavender oil and I'm just going to move it around and it thins out that oil stick. So you get a nice, so I like how that blue looks up there. Okay, and I need a little bit of a brown for that mountain in the background. So this is my Ross Burnt Sienna. Let's put that in there for my mountain. And so So the baby wipes, you can kind of pull that off. See a little oil here. Push that, and then you kind of push it into there. So the thing I like about using this color shaper, and I use it often, and it allows me to mix and get really interesting shapes, hence the name color shaper. You get cool shapes with it, and you get a lot of movement in your work, and I've been using it quite a bit in my abstract work. Okay, so now let's see, I think I want to add a little bit more. Now I want to show you, I have my oil pastels here, and what will happen, because this was a question, what will happen, so if this is the oil, I'm using Arches oil paper. So if I go over this, it works just lovely, it's fine. But when I go into it, it pushes it in a weird way. Now I'm gonna use one that's dry so that we can see. It just makes a different kind of mark. So this oil is dry, so I can put this on top of it because it's oil on top of oil, but it doesn't work well into the wet oil stick, I don't think. But I can go in. So this is another oil stick, but I just want you to see. It doesn't seem to grab or blend well, and I think it's because there's more binder in it, and it's looking kind of pretty. All right, so now I do like this little bit of green in here. Get a little bit going. Now we need the lake. So let me go back to my mixing pad here. Let's get a little blue. So that lake looks very gray blue, and I don't feel that I can use my oil stick with it. So I'm going to use this. It is kind of an icy blue gray. And I'm going to pull, can you see what I'm doing? Yeah, I'm going to pull a little of the stick into it and a little bit of the green. And I need some white. All right, so then I'm just gonna kind of go through the lake. I'm gonna push it in here. So it doesn't have to look exactly like a lake, does it? It's just the idea of the lake. Get a little bit more oil, and push it. Then if there's something you don't like I don't like that, I'm just gonna take my baby wipe and kind of pull. My white here. I'm kind of blurring the edges here. All right, I think I might bring in just a little bit of brown down here a little bit too. Just to kind of bring the eye around. Some of the blue. I'm taking a little bit of the blue and kind of pushing it across. Okay. Huge. Remember, I think in the last video I talked about putting down craft paper to your work table. I did not do that this time. Okay. So I have to clean that up right away. Some like it. So now, you know what we have to do next, the fun part, is put a little bit more brown here. Now, do we add any, hang on, let's see, I'm gonna just take a little bit of burnt sienna, put it on my palette here, and I have a very small brush that I'm just gonna dip in the oil and just kind of add some in some places. For some interest. So if you don't have oil paints, but you have oil sticks or you're going to try them, then you can paint this whole scene in your acrylics and then go back in and add the oil to it to get this kind of beautiful movement. And I did different shapes with my color shaper to kind of abstract my sky a bit. And it might be something that you keep playing with. I like how this kind of looks here. Made my little mountain a little bit more interesting. All right, so now I'm gonna pick up my mess here. So when I clean those brushes, I will use the brush cleaner. So I just put my brush in the brush cleaner that I have and then wipe it off with a baby wipe. And then I use a lavender soap that this company makes, and I wash them very well to get everything out. And then the final thing I do is take after I've washed them, rinse them in the bucket and wash them, I then take the baby wipe and I just make sure all the paint is out and kind of shape my bristles so that they're not stuck. And sometimes you get these little hairs that come out, and you can leave that or you could trim that off a little if they're bothering you. And also my baby wipes will clean off my counter too, hopefully. All right, let me put this out of the way. And I had another question. I do not travel. I don't take them when I travel. I use everything water soluble. These are things I just use in my own work at home. And that looks, yeah. And what I love about this is I can look at this, like today I'll go back through and I'll look at it, I'll hang it up on my wall, and I can make little adjustments because it's still wet. All right, I'll stop now. All right, so now my gloves are very dirty, so I'm just gonna take them off and let's look at this and see how it came out. Now, if you're using oil pastels, these little guys, all right, they're very messy as well, and there is a fixative made by Sennelier for oil pastels, and it doesn't completely dry them. They still have a little bit of a tackiness to them, but it does help with that. And what I would do with this, once I'm finished with it and it's dry, I would spray. I would not, since it's paper, I don't put a liquid varnish over it. I use this Winsor & Newton satin varnish, and it smells terrible and you don't want to breathe that. So make sure that you're in a well-ventilated area. So I can go in too, once this dries a little bit, if I want to make some little marks in here, I can do that. But it's still very wet because I use some of the mediums with it as well. See, but sometimes it bleeds through if I use the solvents on, but it didn't, yay. Okay. All right, my friends. Yay. Okay, my little landscape. Turn it over here. All right, so just to recap, I have my RNF. In the other video, the first one, you'll see it it's on my YouTube channel. I go into more depth about how I clean them off, you know, with the paper towel and more preparation, but I only touched a little bit on this. So I like to use the spike lavender oil and the walnut oil. And if, you know, to kind of move things to get different effects, you don't have to just use this one thing. And you can mix them like I showed you on the palette. You can cut pieces off. It has wax in that. And so here's my little inspiration. So let me know if you have any questions. I'll check the comment section after this. And thank you so much for being here today. Millie, thanks you. And have a great weekend. And I'll see you next week. All right, bye. See you later.